wonderforce.com.
Good morning, gentlemen. This is Keshav Mazumdar, and I like to present for you the concept of the tactical incapability to shape the commander's situational awareness, the commander of the battalion or the company. If it's a battalion, then we can call it the battalion level intelligence platoon. If it's a company, we call it company level intelligence platoon. In either case, it's quite the same. It is a basic unit which is comprised of normal riflemen. Normal in the sense that infantry soldiers without any background in intelligence, infantry soldiers without any military occupational specialized training in intelligence, or we can say that we are not dealing with soldiers with a military occupational specialty in intelligence. These are basic riflemen who are trained to deal in tactical combat situations of average intellect. Though of course nowadays in the Indian Army we have soldiers who are graduates. My basic point here is the current battle space is highly asymmetrical. We are not facing the conventional enemy anymore. No, I'm wrong, sorry. We are facing the conventional enemy at the borders. But if we look very carefully, we are engaged more with the insurgents and the terrorists. And both of these, I'll term them as asymmetric enemy. Their resources are very limited. They can blend in the surroundings. We cannot identify them by uniform. We cannot identify them. They don't have any order of battle, a distinct order of battle which can be surveilled by, say, aerial sensors or any of the intelligence platforms. They do not have any distinctive markings. They mingle amongst the population. It is too difficult to discern them. They are asymmetric in the sense that they do not possess the they do not possess extensive arms and ammunition and command and control setup and logistical setups and communication setups and other battlefield order systems, or I should say battlefield operating systems. The thing is that this asymmetric enemy, they will resort to tactics, techniques and procedures which are highly unconventional, whereas our army is tuned to conventional TTPs and SOPs, and here is where the problem arises. For example, I'll tell you one thing. The other day in Spain, a truck came down and barged through the public on the road. That was a very highly asymmetric type of delivery. The weapons platform here is an unconventional one, not the standard RDX or standard IED or assault rifle attack or whatever it is. It was a truck. No one ever imagined about it. The aircraft which hit in the Twin Towers was another asymmetrical attack. Here again it was an aircraft which was a missile, rather I should say, an unconventional missile, and the fuel and the speed of the aircraft, the momentum of the aircraft, you could say that it was the gunpowder of the missile. Now these asymmetric types of attacks need to be anticipated, and it's very, very difficult. And once they attack us with an asymmetric weapon or tactic, we need to adapt to that technique. That is very, very important. Our military doctrine, our army doctrine, although I don't think we have a written army doctrine for, say, human or counter-int or for any other end specialty. We may have manuals, we may have training manuals in schools or whatever it is, but a doctrine is something where we see the past, the present, and project the future. There should be provisions to include modifications in TTPs. It should reflect on our failures, on our successes. It should be it should draw on the long historical battle traditions of the Indian Army. So a doctrine is something. It's written and updated and modified. It should always be there. We can draw on the doctrine and we can make modifications, experimentations, explore. We don't have that. If we had a written doctrine where we could, where we had a record of all the conflicts happening, say, in Assam. For example, supposing, say, there's a village in Assam. If we had a complete written database where, say, we had IED profiles, we had attack profiles, we had the population profiles, we had the humanitarian profiles. Supposing that we had a frequency distribution of the IEDs, kab, kahan, kaise they exploded, where they exploded the most of the time. It could be that some areas in the social community areas, the IEDs never exploded. Why? No, we can find out. We can explore why. Maybe there's a mosque over there, or maybe there's some particular section of community who are so sympathetic to the terrorists or the insurgents that there's never an IED explosion. So this is the point to consider. This can help us to anticipate, and this can help us to adapt to their techniques or to their future operations. Similarly, the human terrain exploitation, the HET, the teams, human terrain exploitation team. If we come to know which sector is sympathetic with them, which is against them, we can, so this profiling of the human terrain, profiling of the IED attacks, profiling of the other types of attacks, the types of weapons, the caches, where the caches were found, and where they are not found. So, and the terrain, the physical terrain, very, very important, always ignored. If a convoy is to move from point A to point B, then the entire terrain should be subjected to something which is called intelligence preparation of the battlefield. The IPB takes into account everything A to Z. In case of conventional enemy, the order of battle, disposition, the threat, the leadership, everything. But here, since there are no we cannot discern any military attributes or military order of battle or something. We can only do one thing. We can conduct an IPB of the battlefield by taking into account the physical terrain, the human terrain, the human local population, and all information we can get from the police, from the other administration agencies, or from our own sources and everything about the threat, the leadership, their finances, their social backgrounds. So usually human terrain exploitation, you can find out like if there's a new stranger in the town, or we can also discern from sources which particular household में ज़्यादा आदमी रात को क्यों आके रहते हैं, who are these people other than the family members. So these things are very important. What I want to say that in intelligence preparation of the battlefield, in the case of current environment, in the case of counterinsurgency environment, we need to know certain things such as the entire geographical terrain or the topography. There should be a topography team. The team which I'll create, an organic team, it will have a basic human team, a basic counter-int team or an interrogation team, a basic document exploitation team, and a basic topography survey team, and of course a psychological operations team with a manpack and speakers and everything. So that the psycho-ops is very important. We should know the pamphlets. What are in the pamphlets? We should know the कहाँ क्या मीटिंग हो रहा है, कहाँ क्या मीटिंग नहीं हो रहा है, किसका कहाँ पे क्या, like what are the lectures being delivered in the madrasas, outside the madrasas. These things are very important. Although psychological operations are not concerned with madrasa lectures and everything, but they are very much concerned with the mentality of the humanitarian, and must manipulate this mentality so that the center of gravity of the enemy is the humanitarian as well as of the coin forces. So you must capture the center of gravity. In the case of conventional enemy, the center of gravity are the command control loads or the important, very important, say other sectors like the other headquarters or something, where we can attack them, literally blow them out, and shape the battlefield to our liking, and cause them degrade the combat effectiveness. But here it's different. Here we are more concerned with something which you cannot see. The enemy is invisible. In this case, we have to resort to non-kinetic attacks, psychological attacks, and less kinetic attacks. Okay, I kill one man, I kill one insurgent. No, I kill one nahi hoga. I kill one insurgent, that will create, say 2 or 3 or 4 insurgents. So if I kill one insurgent, his brother, his sister, or his cousin, they might get infuriated, angered, and we create more insurgents. No, kinetic killing is not the answer. You can never solve a counterinsurgency problem by simply isolating them, killing, not isolating them, killing. Isolating them from the population is what is important. After we have found out the center of gravity is in the population, we realize that non-kinetic attacks and prosecution of the captured elements is more important than kinetic attacks. That's one. Secondly, this intelligence preparation of the coin battlefield should take into account everything, right from the physical terrain down to human terrain, down to the IED profiles, the attack profiles, down to religious areas, locations, down to those communities where attacks are very infrequent or frequent, and the leadership of the community is very important. The leadership of the community is the prime group which knows what's going on in the community and which knows who is sympathetic, or maybe the leadership might be sympathetic to the insurgents. Now the insurgents want to get the support of the community, and we need the same thing. But if we need support of the community, doesn't mean that we simply give them foods or rations, or say this thing kambal in the winter season. We should work for the community development, the schools. So this is what you call, I should say, metrics. These metrics are important, and there's a term for these metrics. The Americans have a good term for it. I can't remember the term. It will come to me later. The point here is the IBB of the battlefield, but the most important, which concerns force protection. The force protection is the issue which I will always say should be the foremost issue in any military strategy at the brigade level or the battalion level. Because if we lose one personnel, or one, even if you lose, say, a particular one ammunition piece, our attack capability is reduced by a unit, or a combat capability reduced by a unit. Force protection should be priority, and force protection should not be confused with military security. It should not be confused with anything like perimeter protection or guard duties, or say layouts of the police only, or keeping a tab on people coming in on vehicles. No. Force protection should be a complete program supported by counterintelligence, to some extent human, but counterintelligence should factor very much. I'll go in detail to this later, because force protection is something which I'm giving too much importance. Otherwise, the Uri attacks, the the CRP attacks, with the way attacks you've seen the CRP bases, and then the other attacks on the Rajref, where the colonel was killed. All these are force protection problems, including when the convoy moves from one point to the other, an attack is done, a convoy is attacked. That is also a force protection problem during mobility. Force protection is extremely important, and the Americans have given it top priority. And they have created a separate doctrine for it. And they have even created a separate intel discipline, the Force Protection Intelligence discipline, which is not at all, it has, of course, I won't say not at all, it is quite similar to the human and other disciplines, but it has certain characteristics of its own, peculiar to its own domain. Now, point here is that counterintuitive factor in post protection, counterintuitive find out the insider threat, counterintuitive find out the vulnerable areas, should find out the critical areas of the installation of the camp by using red teaming, counterintuitive find out the review, the review of the personnel, the review of the staff, the counter-interview of the installation, where supposing there's something we need to know for a particular officer. Say an officer has he needs access to a certain confidential or top classified material. Now we must know whether this need to know basis of the officer is valid or not. For that there should be background check on the officer, and we should know इसके हाथ में ये खबर चला जाता है, even though he is a personnel, whether it will be detrimental to the unit or safe to the unit. So even the need to know basis, even for a commander, for a 2IC, or for any other senior officer, should be checked by a counter officer or agent very carefully and discreetly by going to records in the entire, say, in the database, the past records, is ACR, everything. So point here is that we need to have a counter review, we need to have a counter survey, we need to have a vulnerability and criticality analysis. There's something called CARVER, CARVER method to determine which of the targets are very lucrative for terrorists, because there's something called risk transfer, there's risk mitigation, and then risk avoidance. The three important factors are there in force protection. In risk transfer, I know this after conducting a counter-int vulnerability and criticality analysis, we find out that these particular places are prime targets, and then we fortify those targets, say by concentric rings methodology. I'll come to that later onwards, or by some other fortification methods. The terrorists find, no, bhaiya, ye jagah ko urana khatarnak hai, it's very well protected. So there's a risk transfer. The terrorist shifts his focus to another target nearby, and we should know what is the target. Even if you go for risk transfer, even if you fortify our critical assets, there's still chances of being attacked on some other asset, this risk transfer. Sometimes we see we cannot avoid a terrorist attack after even a thorough counter analysis. Then we go for risk acceptance, and then we prepare for the attack. For this, we should have force protection levels. Force protection levels means force protection condition levels, FPCON, say orange or say blue or green, which will alert us to the extent of the possibility of the threat. I mean, how fast the attack is going to occur. But still, risk acceptance. Okay, the attack is going to happen. We cannot avoid it. It's accepted. Let's prepare for it. If it's risk transfer, let's prepare let's identify the other targets and fortify them, so that the risk transfer again happens, and the terrorist is pushed far and far away from the unit to some other targets, and finally his target is far away, a very simple target outside the unit area. And then there is risk mitigation. So all these factors come into force protection. When a convoy moves from point 1 to point 2 along a jungle or along a hilly terrain or whatever it is, there are areas in the entire terrain which are conducive for ambush. There are areas where there can be emplacements for the enemy weapons. Say there's a hillock, I cannot see what's beyond the hillock. The enemy will be hiding there. So we need to have the full physical terrain. During the intelligence preparation battlefield, the entire study. It could be the waterways, even through the jungle or through the sandy areas, the mounds and everything. All these can provide cover and concealment for the terrorists. At the same time, they can provide cover and concealment and fields of fire for our own troops, for our own emplaced weapons, for our own people, so that the physical terrain should be a prime area for consideration. Now, when a convoy moves from one area to other area, it is equally possible that these insurgents or these terrorists, or for that matter hybrid criminals, these people can use the hilly area profile for their advantage, for number one, for ambush, number one, to provide distraction, number three, to provide for surveillance and keeping a watch on us. Number four, say emplacing mines and everything. So we need to study the area very, very well, the entire profile, the contour of the area. Mind you, here the human terrain comes in. Now the convoy is moving ahead. Suddenly, out of the blue, comes out shepherds, a huge, big shepherd group which bakra sab leke, and a convoy stop. Now that could be that could be something momently stopping us, so that the other people, to maneuver. This is a maneuver tactic for the enemy. Okay, they move to a new position. Or it could be that we are halted, or it could be that we are chasing it could be a tactical operation where we are chasing the insurgents doing a firefight, and suddenly people come between, we can't go ahead. This happened in Kashmir. When the terrorists were very recently escaping, the people came in between, and they made escape on a motorcycle. The people they supported the terrorists. They blocked the road. These are asymmetric types of tactics, techniques and procedures which the normal soldier is not used to. And we cannot fire on the public. But we know that the public is abetting them. What I mean to say here is force protection should be given at a very separate consideration, should be a top priority in our strategy, should be enabled with counter-inhuman to some extent, and should be separate from other domains. Now I come down to organic incapability. This organic incapability will help both in force protection. It will help in standard maneuver and other battle operating systems against the enemy. It also helps in shaping the commander decision, the commander's situational development. And overall, if I consider all the battalions combined together, I can project that into a brigade, and all the brigades combined together finally to a division net, a sort of van and land connecting with all the information from these organic int units. Then I can say that the overall commander of the corps commander will have a very clear situational awareness, and he can create and conduct a situational development. And if we can synchronize all these van and land and the tactical operations centers, also come to later on, the TOCs are very, very important. तब क्या होता है, ये network में the entire command gets a good and clean picture of the basic situation, which I should say the common operating picture. That means at the same time, the commanders at every level, at every echelon, right from the brigade down to the platoon commander, on the computer screen or on the desktop, on the palm-top screen, or even on the mobile screen. The one I have created can be handled on a mobile. The system which I have created, the mobile will also, if the soldier, if he has a mobile, he can also see the mobile and on a smartphone. And he can even push his information via the smartphone. He can have a intelligence reach, and he can request intelligence to the smartphone. I've created the channels which can be handled through a smartphone. Whatever it is, whatever I was saying, the common operating picture. That means right from top level down to the platoon level. At the same time, in real time, they know and simultaneously the common pictures happening in the battle space, and this is very, very important for disparate regions. Like there could be tactical operations. Far flung off. Not in contiguous areas. In such situations, this COP is very important. And for that, again, I come to one very important point: the tactical operations center. It can be a mobile tactical operations center, like we have in a battlefield, a mobile van. Equipped with certain staff who get inputs about the battle conditions going on, and then they report it upwards. But that is very basic. That's very rudimentary. What the TOC here is different. In this TOC, the same infantrymen trained with very, very simple basic int training. Like one TOC will receive the human related information from one battalion, from the organic int cell. Again, the psycho-ops from the same int cell, and then the battle conditions. What do you call it? The output of the battle outcome, the tactical battle outcome, the casualties, and what they have, the success of the maneuver. So ये जो सब inputs हैं, the human comes to the human NCO, the content comes to the content NCO, the topographical or the psycho operations come to the psycho-ops or topographical NCO. Now all these NCOs, they report to the TOC captain. The TOC captain conducts a spot analysis down there. This is what I call boot level analysis. I am pushing down in capability to the ground. I'm not waiting for the information to be sent up to the MI, to the headquarters, or the next higher headquarters to be analyzed there, and then collated, analyzed, वापस नीचे भेज दिया. This kill chain is too long. I'm shortening the kill chain, and so this तो ये होता है ना. So जो भी हो रहा है on the ground में हो जा रहा है, and then the section commander or the company commander is updated. He goes for further maneuvers or further attacks or whatever it is. In the meantime, the NCOs also push up the int to the higher headquarters, and then they push up the further higher up. So क्या होता है? The intelligence capabilities at boot level. The TOC is something, the Tactical Operations Center is something which is very, very important. One TOC can cater to 2 or 3 battalions, or maybe in one battalion can cater to all the companies. And so if we have a network of TOCs spread throughout battle space, and all these TOCs are networked together, they can report to the higher headquarters int section, who in further can move up to the brigade headquarters, and from there the corps headquarters. So is there a point is that I have a networking capacity right from the boot level down to the topmost level, and I'm getting real-time intelligence. One more thing I'll point out here is very important, very, very important. If there's a battle space where a lot of tactical operations are going on, spread out, say a brigade is deployed, number of battalions, and the number of companies, and again number of platoons and squads in action, the high headquarters will not be interested to know what is happening at a tactical level. It is more interested to know at the operational level and at a strategic level. जो बड़े घटना क्या घट गया है? What are the outcomes which might move the strategic initiative to another direction, or which affect the operational initiative, whatever it is. अभी जो ये ground में जो घटना हो रहा है, ground में जो individual जो firefights हो रहे हैं, that is least interested. But that is where it's important for us. Because in a battle space, the conditions are very fluid, very dynamic. If the soldier on the ground has the capacity to push up is what's happening in his area, it could very well happen that a tactical maneuver can have strategic implications, mind you. It can very well happen that I should say that in one area of operations, the TTP is employed, which has helped the unit to gain success. Say physical destruction of the enemy, or any other kinetic attack, or even a non-kinetic attack. That thing can work much well in a similar environment somewhere far away in another area of operations. But this commander might not know what's happening in that area because of the absence of the communication. The communication. If the TOC is everywhere and all the TOCs are linked together, and there's horizontal sharing as well as vertical sharing. Vertical push upstairs. This horizontal sharing will enable them to know what's going on where. As today in this lecture, I'm being very brief. I'm not being very clear. Things are still very unclear before you all. But what I'm saying is that we should have tactical capability. We should push into the ground. We should invert the intelligence pyramid. We must invert the pyramid. Things should push up from down to up. We must shorten the skill chain. Let me tell you one thing, the skill chain idea. You can get a very clear idea what I want to say. If, say, there's a surface-to-air missile battery constantly firing a barrage of rockets at the aircraft, at a fighter aircraft, the Indian aircraft in the sky. Now, it is more important for the aircraft to get the locational, those coordinates as fast as possible. Here the int required, here the intelligence required by the aircraft is very time sensitive. Right? At the same time, if take for another example, just a minute. Just 1 second, my microphone might be a problem, I think so. No, it's okay. So here the man at the int headquarters who has to give him the information through proper surveillance, say ground surveillance, or say any other aerial surveillance, or any other way to find out the locational coordinates of the particular thing. He cannot just sit on a sofa. Sit on his chair, recline back, and wait for the inputs to come in. He must move fast. The RNS team or or some other, say, int team, whatever it is, or whatever int discipline it may be, or whatever int platform it may be, aerial or ground or whatever it is, things gotta move very fast. Otherwise, the plane will be shot down by the battery. Now, let's take a second case. Here we have a building. We know the terrorists are holed up in the building. Okay. Now we got to move inside. Here again, information is of time sensitive. But here the level of accuracy, the level of the detail is not as accurate as required for the battery. Here we need information on the building exterior, interior. I was wrong. Detailed information, but not as time sensitive, because they're holed up there. They'll be there for 3-4 days. So here here there is time to find information about them. Here the people can work carefully, and then there can be surveillance, night surveillance. There can be many other forms of surveillance, or whatever it is. My point is, intelligence should be specific, accurate, and timely. But sometimes we have to make trade-offs. The organic int unit is capable of handling this. Now, there was one more example I wanted to cite. Another example, this, what do you call it? Say, I'm forgetting, because it'll come to me soon. मैं यहाँ इतना बताना चाहता हूँ कि जो हमारे खुफिया कैपेसिटी है, जो हमारे सैनिक है, जिन लोगों के पास वहाँ से उन लोग जिनको लेके we can train them in certain very basic forms like tactical questioning. Tactical questioning is something very new to the Indian Army. It is something on the spot questioning of a detainee without not interrogation, mind you, not any physical torture, or not under duress. It is sort of questioning, open-ended and closed-ended questions. We should have to use open-ended, not closed-ended, so that we can extract answers which the detainee is bound to tell you the way the question is framed. And this can be taught to the soldiers. And this is very, very effective than interrogation, mind you. In interrogation, you have to go as per Geneva laws. But here in tactical questioning, there is no physical torture or duress. Then there is elicitation. Then there is document exploitation. Then there is captured equipment exploitation, as well as there are psychological operations and topographical study. All this can be easily executed by our soldiers, as well as the recce and surveillance with the intelligence element combined. The RNS team going inside can have one basically trained counter-int soldier. My point is, we handpick some soldiers from the battalion, we train them, we make them organic to the unit. अभी क्या होता है ना, यहाँ पे I get information that and that area वहाँ पे उग्रवादी आए हुए हैं. The normal infantry unit will wait for the inputs to come in. And an input comes in, it goes and then goes for attack and find the terrorists are not there. ये जो kill chain है from sensor to shooter, this kill chain, the sensor to shooter goes via the int section. इसको हमको छोटा करना है. We have to reduce this to such an extent that in the least possible time we zoom in fast on the enemy. We zero on the enemy. And for that, if the company commander has his own organic int unit, he won't have to wait for ints to come up from the high headquarters. उसका खुद का आदमी जाएंगे. They'll recreate the servers. They'll mix with the population. They might have created some sources who will get information. ये चलता रहेगा. They get information. They get hard information. They tell the commander. The commander moves in with. The hit team's movement. Actionable intelligence is something which is extremely important and is a very, very big problem in tactical situations where rarely do we get actionable intelligence. Actionable intelligence, int on which we can act immediately. Int is very, very perishable. If we get accurate intelligence, but not timely, it can be specific, it can be accurate, but not timely, the three factors. There was a use. Organic int capability. Every soldier a sensor is very important. Let me tell you one thing. हमारे पास कितने होंगे int people? The detachments working down there in a battle space. Well, it's few. I'm telling you, it cannot cope with the entire battlefield area, or it cannot cope with the entire area of operations, or it cannot go on supporting every regiment, the detachments we have. But supposing if most of the companies have their own organic int cells, then imagine the number of sensors now in the battlefield. It's multiplied around, say, even 50 to 100 times. The Americans are doing that in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Kosovo. They did this, and they have made stupendous success to such an extent that they call the transformation of the int of the 21st century as every soldier is a sensor. With this, I end the introduction. And in the next part, I'll focus on certain aspects of the battlefield operating system. The six, constituents, out of which int is the most important, but counter-int is extremely important. And why counter-int is important? And there's something called tactical human. But that is not at the level of the organic int capability for the unit. It is for higher level. In fact, that is when we have our own dedicated int brigade, or I have designed an int brigade, and then I'll focus on something called how to handle a particular fictitious, a brigade. An operations going. A brigade has been deployed to current operations in the northeast. I've created a map for that. I have created 3 websites, detailed websites on the headquarters website, a counter-int headquarters website, a tactical platoon website for the supported company, and an organic int website. Each and every website contains military information which is completely current in keeping with this new concept. At the same time, I have created intelligence examination online for the soldiers, for officers. I have created commanders' education from the perspective of current int needs. For example, operations and int, they are integral. I won't say part of each other. They are part of the whole. We don't realize that. Operations and int should be totally integrated. In fact, I should say in the Tactical Operations Center, or even the command headquarters, I think Eastern Command headquarters, the operations and the int staff should sit side by side. They should put their maps and plans and everything side by side, because they are so intricately involved of the whole system that we cannot just, I mean, it's impossible. They are part of each other, and we don't realize that. I'll give an example over here. This is what commanders education should need to realize. And ops int dynamic, this dynamic of ops int is so important. I mean, it's one of the, in fact, I should say the most important thing in a strategic or a operational, even a tactical combat situation. That, for example, जैसे मुझे उस घर में उग्रवादी लोग हैं, and I should say in other way around. If there is a int collection plan to be made up, the commander of the infantry unit who has no int background, he should be aware of the int sensors available. ये हो सकता है कि जो उसका जो क्या रेजिमेंट नहीं जो the brigade int sensors, they are divided among various units, so it's not possible to get one particular sensor always on my unit. It could be that the human team is not available to my unit, or the aerial surveillance platform is not available to my unit. So the जो team जा रहा है in tactical combat, the infantry team, उसका जो operations manager है, the operations officer should know exactly what all assets are available with the int person, so that, and then he can say that these are my int requirements. Now, if he says my int requirement is A, and the requirement cannot be satisfied by any asset, as those assets are not with the int section, what the use? At the same time, the int personnel should know the entire operation detail, the combat operation, so that they can give them the exact int. They should know कहाँ पे क्या हमला होगा and what exact requirement these people may need for the success of the operation or for the mission. Both are intertwined. I won't use the word intertwined. I'll say that they are parts of a whole. In a holistic view, we cannot afford to separate them. Synchronized int and operations is different. I will not say this is synchronization. This is total integration, and that is what should be in our army. So I've devised the commander's education guidelines. I devised this is a Jawan's guidelines for the organic cell. I've devised an examination of 355 questions for the officers. I've devised IC01 preliminary int test online with the help of the American War College, of which I'm the senior vice president. So ये सब करके मैंने एक सिस्टम तैयार किया है. ये तीनों साइट में ले लिए हैं. All this the general headquarters site. I've created a full headquarters in website form. Right from the library down to command control, down to unit 1, unit 2, examinations and repository of TTPs and doctrine. Yeah, I mean everything is there, including communication channels. I've created a counter-int headquarters with the current counter-int concepts for force protection and for tactical human and for basic organic int, as well as there are other sites for the int units at the organic cell level, as well as a complete 3 manuals, online manuals, running into I think 3,000 4,000 pages, 3 different manuals in force protection, in counter int, and in pure human and tactical human, which you can read online in all languages. So all these 3 books have been uploaded to the sites. Plus there are more which I will not tell over here, as I'll get tired myself. 17 years I've put inside this. 17 years I've studied. I've left nothing to chance. Anyways, in the second episode I'll tell everything. Thank you, and Jai Hind. In the Human Doctrine I have written for the Indian Army, I explored the concept of intelligence-enabled force projection beyond the current area of operations and beyond the area of interest. The area of interest are the contiguous areas. Along with the boundary of the area of operations, where there can be second and third order influences of the operations conducted in the area of operations. A day might come when we will have to extend this beyond national boundaries. In the counter-int context, if that scenario arises, although even now in counter-insurgency related missions within India, linguistic capability is ever important, we must have the sets sufficient linguistic capability in sudden operation unexpected maybe I'm wrong in this. I'm a civilian and the span of my observation is limited. Makes us focus them on non-existent threat, etc. Hence, requirement management is a very important part of collection management and asset management. Brackets close. And managing the unit's CI senior and junior NCOs, enlisted men. All these cannot be correlated, leave alone professionally in the orientation course. As a result, the officer from a different regiment and not the intelligence corps takes time to get attuned to the area of operations, and there's a delay in the situational understanding in his mind. Situational understanding and situational development and train in every aspect of counterintelligence, so that eventually we have a full-fledged professional army of operatives and officers. Countering TTPs or other tactical countermeasures. Just like in human, where a human needs to be part and parcel of operations, the supported commander needs to know human capabilities, limitations, constraints before the collection manager spells out the prioritized commander's intelligence requirements. The crux of the matter is whether it is company, division, brigade, CI assets. Counter-INT must be fully integrated into operations and its entire capabilities must be fully exploited. Mobility is a serious question. During a battle scenario, counter-INT assets must be able to move rapidly in the area of operations. Maneuver forces and CI assets must keep in pace if proper CI mission is to achieve. Battlefield mission requirements in a highly to achieve a counter-int mission, whether be it in the field or in the peace areas or the rear echelons, we have a counter-int unit, a counter-int detachment, and generally what I observed that the captain, the major, or the 2IC, they are not from the int corps, they are from the artillery or the infantry or other corps, and they have been deputed to the int corps after a crash course in intelligence. This officer, once he joins the unit, he takes time to understand counter-int functions. He takes time to understand counter-int mission. He is not aware of requirements management, collection management, or asset management. During his 2 year tenure in the command or at the det, most of the time he is learning. Once he finishes that, a long time has passed by, and then he gets tuned to support the commander. We cannot afford this loss of time, as the situation in India is now more serious, and we got to move very fast. Munu, on air. Munu, on air. লাইভ আমি এখন বলবো যা বলবো না ওর শুনবে আপনি এখনই শুনবে লাইভ হচ্ছে লাইভ এই যে লাইভ ফোরকাস্ট হচ্ছে ও সত্যি বাদ দাও আউট